her left eyebrow. "That idiot! Are you all right? Do you want to go to casualty?" Elizabeth's heart was kettle drumming, nausea rising in her throat. She swallowed bile and managed to whisper, "No, I don't need to go to hospital. I'm fine. He didn't hit me."
"That guy was a nutter or stoned out of his mind,"
the boy said, craning his neck to see if the Aston Martin was still in sight. But of course it wasn't. He was tall and good-looking, his hair and short dreads dyed a fire-hot red. He handed the girl the brolly and gathered up Elizabeth's groceries. He started to give her the grocer's bag when he saw how wobbly she was and settled it on his arm. He said,
"Maybe the asswipe was stoned, but it seemed to me like he wanted to hit you. I mean, he headed right for you. I know that Aston Martin model. It's a couple of years old, but sorry, I didn't get the number plate. I think you should call the police."
She nodded numbly. "Could you give me your names and mobile numbers? Maybe the police will find them." Was he right? Was it on purpose? No, that was impossible. It didn't make sense someone would want to run her down with an Aston Martin in the middle of the day. She hadn't pissed off anyone she could think of, certainly not enough to warrant a death run. Not true, not true. You nearly died last year with hundreds more at St. Paul's, all because of Samir Basara. But it couldn't be him. Samir was dead. Long dead. Her hands were shaking so badly she couldn't enter their information on her mobile, so the girl, Mandy, did it for her. They walked her to her home, only 6 doors away, the last house on the crescent, 3 stories of stately blazing white. Elizabeth assured them again she was fine, thanked them again for being there to help her, slipped inside and slid the deadbolt home. She leaned back against the door, her heart still pounding so hard she wondered it didn't burst out of her chest. She felt lightheaded, closed her eyes. She took deep, slow breaths to get hold of herself. She repeated over and over, "I'm alive, I'm alive." Finally, her heart slowed and she felt calm enough to think. Even the boy, Thomas Dauber, had agreed whoever was driving the Aston Martin could have been drunk or taking drugs. It was common enough. She'd seen her younger brother, Tommy, flying high on cocaine and driving like a maniac. Didn't matter if there was anyone around him, in a car or walking. Elizabeth realized she'd gotten a glimpse of the driver, but only for a second, long enough to see his dark glasses, a black watch cap pulled down low. And yes, there'd been another man next to him she'd barely seen. The driver had seemed young, maybe about Tommy's age, and just as out of control, convinced he was immortal. Elizabeth carried her grocery bag into her newly remodeled kitchen, a present from her mother. Pleased she wasn't weaving around any longer. She eyed the crushed pizza box. Who cared? She shoved it into the freezer. The tulips were only a bit bunged up. Slowly, with great concentration, she put them in a Waterford vase that had belonged to her great-grandmother Maud, and added water. Suddenly her hands were shaking again so hard she nearly dropped the vase. She set it carefully on her kitchen table, closed her eyes. "You're fine. Breathe. Maybe the men in the Aston Martin were on drugs. Maybe they were mad. Maybe they tried to hit you for a lark. So many explanations to choose from." Yet again, she wondered if there was anyone who could possibly hate her enough to try to kill her. Yet again, no face came to mind. She thought of Tommy's drug dealer, Carlos. Yes, she knew his name, knew he hailed from a small town in Spain. But that didn't make sense. She was the one who always made good on whatever her brother owed when he couldn't pay. No reason Carlos would want to kill his golden goose. Half of what she'd earned from her last sale of a painting went to Carlos. She sighed. No, she wouldn't think yet again about how to stop being Tommy's enabler. Not now. Elizabeth took 2 aspirin, carried a bottle of Chardonnay to the sitting room, and stretched out on the 18th century brocade sofa, next on her list to be recovered. She was calmer, in control now, but aches and pains in her back and shoulders started to broadcast. She drank 2 glasses of Chardonnay and sank back against the sofa pillows. The wine helped a bit, until what came crashing